The secret war against magical creatures was getting harder and harder. It felt like the bad things were winning, and the danger grew every day. New reports of monster attacks filled every communication line. Urgent messages buzzed through the hidden networks of the witching hour. The places where witching hour hunters felt safe, called safehouses, were not safe anymore. Bad creatures had found them. These safehouses were being attacked one after another. It was clear someone was planning these attacks very carefully. A very scary, huge creature was leading these attacks. It was the one in charge. This creature was known as a Sarangay. It was a beast with amazing, powerful strength. What made this Sarangay so dangerous was that it seemed completely untouched by magic. Spells just bounced off it. The Sarangay did not come alone. It brought an army of dead hunters with it, making the attacks even worse. These reanimated hunters were like zombies. They moved slowly, but they never stopped, always trying to reach their target. It was a sad sight, because these creatures were once brave witching hour members. They had fought for good, but now something dark controlled them. They only served an evil purpose, doing exactly what the Sarangay wanted. The main goal of these monsters was to steal powerful Agimats. These were special magical items. These important Agimats were kept safe in special rooms called armories inside the witching hour safehouses. Even worse, some Agimats were taken from hunters who had already fallen in battle. It was a terrible way to dishonor them. Dean, always on alert, heard the urgent call for help. The message came through his secure radio, sounding very worried. Another witching hour safehouse was under attack right now. The alarm bells were ringing loudly in his mind. This safehouse was far away from any big city, nestled deep in the mountains. It would be a long journey. Dean was still tired from his last big fight. His body ached, and his mind felt heavy. His special tattoo familiars, which were usually his strongest power, were still resting. They needed to heal after fighting so hard. The tattoos needed more time to become strong again, to glow with their power. They were not ready for another big battle yet. Because his tattoo familiars were still healing, Dean knew he could not use them in this important battle. He would have to fight in other ways. Instead, he grabbed his buntot pagi, his most trusted weapon. It was a whip-like item that could change into different forms. He also made sure to carry his pouch, which was full of special potions. These were important tools for any hunter. These potions would give him strength, making his punches and kicks much more powerful against the monsters. Other potions would make him faster, allowing him to move like a blur and dodge attacks easily. And some potions would even help him cast spells, giving him a boost of magic when he needed it most, even without his tattoos. Dean quickly sped towards the mountain safehouse. His motorcycle cut through the dark night. He knew deep down that he was truly needed, even if he wasn't at his very best. He had to try. He arrived to a scene of total chaos. The air was thick with the smell of smoke and fear. Huge fires burned all around the safehouse walls, casting scary shadows everywhere. The sounds of screams mixed with the terrifying roar of a very large beast. It was the Sarangay. Outside the safehouse, hunters were fighting bravely. They faced the terrible monsters. They were all trying their hardest to push back the zombie horde, to keep them away from the safehouse. Dean leaped right into the middle of the fight. He wasted no time joining his comrades. He moved very quickly, twisting and turning, dodging sharp attacks from the reanimated hunters. He saw many familiar faces among the defenders. Some were young hunters, just starting out. Others were old veterans, hunters who had fought in many battles before, strong and wise. They all fought side by side, bravely facing the undead enemies together, a true team. The reanimated hunters moved slowly, like broken dolls. But there were so many of them, coming from every direction. The reanimated hunters' eyes glowed with a strange, eerie green light. It was a scary sight in the dark night. They lunged at the living hunters, holding broken weapons and showing off their sharp, dirty claws. Dean reacted fast. His buntot pagi, the whip-like weapon, whipped through the air with a loud whoosh. It cracked like thunder as it hit the zombie horde, forcing them back, making space for the hunters. Dean aimed for their weak spots, knowing that these undead creatures could only truly be destroyed by fire. He quickly popped open a small brown potion bottle. It was one of his special battle mixtures. He quickly drank the bitter liquid inside. It tasted awful, but Dean knew it would help him. Warm energy spread instantly through his body. He could feel it tingling in his veins. His muscles felt stronger, suddenly full of power. His movements became much swifter, almost too fast to see. He swung his buntot pagi with new, amazing force. Each strike carried more power than before. The whip then transformed, shimmering into a short, fiery sword in his hand. It glowed with heat. The flaming sword sliced easily through the undead bodies. They offered little resistance. Bright flames erupted from the cuts, turning the zombie bodies into nothing but ash and smoke. Other hunters also used their own special Agimats. Each one had a unique magical power. Blue shields shimmered around some hunters, protecting them from the zombies' attacks. Bright bolts of light shot from other hunters' hands, hitting the enemies with powerful force. They all fought as a strong team working together. They slowly pushed back the tide of monsters. The zombies groaned in a low, sad sound as they fell, finally defeated by the hunters. But more kept coming, never giving up, relentless and never tiring. Their numbers seemed endless. Even with so many enemies, the hunters were determined. They would not give up their safe house. The hunters fought with all their might for their home, for the safe house they protected. They fought for their families, for everyone they cared about. Slowly, very slowly, they began to push the zombies back. They were gaining ground, step by careful step. The number of reanimated hunters fighting them started to get smaller. There were fewer and fewer of them as the hunters fought hard. The air filled with the strong, bad smell of burnt flesh. It was the smell of the zombies turning into ash. Finally, the swarm of zombies was completely stopped. They were all gone, no more threats from them. A very brief moment of quiet fell over the battlefield. The sounds of fighting stopped, leaving only the wind. Hunters looked at each other, covered in sweat and dirt. They were catching their breath, exhausted from the fight. They thought the worst part of the battle was over. They believed they had won and could finally rest. But they were wrong. Something much worse was about to happen. A very loud roar ripped through the quiet night. It was a sound that made every living thing freeze in fear. The powerful sound was so strong that it made the very ground shake beneath the hunters' feet. A massive shadow then appeared from the darkness, growing bigger and bigger against the faint moonlight. It was the Sarangay, the leader of the attacks. It was even more terrifying up close. The creature was enormous, truly giant, like a bull made of solid rock, but much, much bigger. It had tough skin that looked and felt like rough stone. Two sharp, glowing horns curved powerfully from its head. Wisps of dark smoke curled from its nostrils, showing its power. It looked angry and dangerous. Its eyes burned with a fierce, evil, ancient fire. They held a cruel and knowing gaze. Even though it was so big, it moved with surprising speed. It was not slow or clumsy at all. With a terrifying charge, it slammed its huge body right into the safe house wall, aiming for the defenses. The strong stone of the safe house wall cracked and crumbled easily under the Sarangay's immense power. Dust and debris flew everywhere. Hunters quickly tried to stop the monster, throwing their strongest magic spells at it. Bright lights and energy burst towards the beast. The spells hit the Sarangay's tough hide, but they did nothing at all. The magic simply fizzled out against its skin. The Sarangay roared again, a sound of triumph and anger. It was completely untouched by the magic, still as powerful as ever. It truly was immune to magic, a terrifying truth the hunters were now facing. Nothing they tried seemed to work. Panic began to spread quickly among the hunters. Their faces showed fear and confusion. Their strongest spells, their best attacks were completely useless. They had no way to stop the beast. The giant beast then charged straight towards the armory, the room where all the powerful Agimats were kept. It knew exactly what it wanted. It wasn't just destroying, it had a clear goal in mind. Dean felt a cold dread in his stomach. This was much worse than just fighting zombies. This was a new, much higher level of threat. A monster that couldn't be stopped by their usual magic. He quickly took another potion, hoping it would boost his physical power even more, since magic wasn't working. He made his boon-taught Pagi, his transforming weapon, turn into a heavy mace. It was strong and solid. He yelled loudly to the other hunters, trying to get their attention and give them a plan. "Focus on its horns," Dean shouted over the roar of the beast. "They look like they could be a weak spot. Try to distract it," he called, hoping to pull its attention away from the armory door. Several brave hunters immediately attacked the monster, not using magic, but their physical weapons. They used their physical Agimats, weapons that were strong and sharp even without spells. Swords clanged loudly against its stony hide, making sparks fly, but not seeming to hurt the Sarangay. Axes barely left a scratch on its tough skin. The Sarangay was just too strong, too well protected. The Sarangay simply swatted the brave hunters aside, as if they were nothing but small, annoying flies. They flew through the air. It was an unstoppable force. Nothing the hunters did seemed to slow it down or stop its charge. One hunter was thrown far into the dark forest, landing with a painful crash among the trees. Another hunter was slammed hard against a strong stone pillar, falling to the ground with a cry. The battle quickly turned desperate. The hunters knew they were running out of options. The Sarangay pushed deeper and deeper into the safe house, tearing through what was left of the defenses. It was heading straight for the armory vault, the place where the most powerful magical items were kept hidden. Then, a young woman, a hunter named Elara, stepped forward. She knew she had to do something. She had long, dark hair that flowed behind her, and her eyes were brave and full of courage. Elara was an elite hunter, one of the best. She was especially known for her strong light magic. Elara looked at Dean, and a silent message passed between them. They both understood the terrible choice that had to be made. She knew exactly what had to be done, even if it meant a great cost. There was no other way. Her Agimat, a small magical item, began to glow brightly in her hand. Its light grew stronger and stronger. It was a small, polished stone, smooth and round, but it held immense power from the Garden of Eden. She began to chant ancient words, her voice clear and strong, rising above the sounds of destruction. A bright golden light started to form all around her, swirling and growing with every word she spoke. The light grew quickly, pushing back the dark shadows created by the Sarangay. It spread like a wave of pure energy. The Sarangay paused its attack, sensing the powerful growing energy from Elara. It felt something new. Elara's entire body began to shimmer, almost as if she was turning into pure light herself. The golden light pulsed strongly, growing brighter and brighter with each passing second. It became too dazzling to look at directly. Elara poured all of her magical energy into the powerful spell. Every bit of her power flowed into the light. This was a forbidden technique, a dangerous spell that hunters were told never to use. It was forbidden because it would consume the caster, meaning Elara would be gone once the spell was finished. But in this moment, it was their only chance to stop the Sarangay. She knew she had no other choice. "Get back!" Dean yelled loudly to the remaining hunters, his voice raw with fear and urgency. He quickly dragged a wounded hunter away from the bright, expanding light, pulling them to safety. Elara's voice echoed through the night one last time, strong and clear, finishing her powerful chant. Then, the light exploded outwards with a blinding flash, covering everything in its pure golden energy. It was like a miniature sun had suddenly appeared right there, burning with incredible heat and power. The intense light washed over the terrifying Sarangay, wrapping the monster in its brilliant glow. For the very first time, the beast roared in pure pain. Its cry was loud and filled with agony. The intense light also burned away the last of the reanimated zombies. They could not stand against its purity. They simply disintegrated into nothingness, leaving no trace behind, just a puff of dark smoke. Elara's body, her very form, vanished completely within the brilliant flash of light. She was gone. Her sacrifice was complete. She had given everything to protect her friends in the safe house. The blinding light slowly faded away, leaving behind a sudden, eerie silence. The chaos had stopped. Only the strange smell of ozone, like after a lightning strike, remained in the air, a reminder of what happened. Dean stood completely frozen, staring at the empty spot where Elara had just been. He couldn't believe she was gone. A terrible silence hung heavily in the air now. All the sounds of battle had stopped, leaving only emptiness. Dean felt a deep ache in his chest, a heavy feeling of loss. Elara was gone, and it hurt. Another brave hunter, someone who fought for good, was gone. The enemy had taken another friend. But then, a small movement in the last bit of fading light caught Dean's eye. Something was still there. The Sarangay was still there. It had somehow survived the powerful light spell. It was singed and scorched, its stony skin blackened in places, but it was alive. It was not defeated. It roared again, this time not in pain, but in anger and a terrible kind of victory. It was furious, yet triumphant. The huge light spell had consumed Elara and all of the reanimated zombies, turning them to dust. But that powerful magic had not been enough to kill the giant beast. It was truly a monster beyond their understanding. It shook its massive head as if to clear the ringing from its ears. It then looked around. Its glowing eyes then fixed straight on the open armory vault, ignoring everything else. That was its true target. The beast lumbered forward, its heavy footsteps shaking the ground once more as it walked to its prize. It quickly gathered up several powerful Agimats, magical items that shimmered with bright colors. These were ancient, glowing artifacts, some of the strongest the witching hour owned. They shimmered with potent magic, pulsing with light and energy in the beast's grasp. The Sarangay clamped them in its jaws, holding them tight like a dog with a bone. It then turned its massive body and crashed right through the remaining wall of the safe house, making a new exit. It disappeared into the night, its dark shape vanishing quickly into the trees. It had won. The enemy had taken what they wanted, and the hunters were left with their losses. Dean watched it go, feeling utterly helpless. He couldn't stop it, and that feeling burned inside him. His powerful tattoos were still dormant, quiet. They held no glowing light, unable to help him now. Dean was completely exhausted from the long and terrible fight. Every part of his body felt heavy and sore. The other surviving hunters were also wounded and tired, their faces showing pain and sadness. They had saved their own lives, but they had lost so much more. Friends were gone, and hope felt dim. The Sarangay had gotten away, escaping with the powerful stolen Agimats. Their mission was a success for the enemy. This was a huge victory for the enemy, a major setback for the witching hour. The dark forces had gained power. It meant their dark ritual would be stronger now, fueled by the stolen magic. The danger was growing. The veil, the magical barrier that separated worlds, would be an even greater danger. Its protection was weakening. Dean clenched his fists tightly. His hands shook not from fear, but from a growing rage inside him. His anger burned hotter than any flame he had ever commanded. It was a cold, fierce fire. He swore deep in his heart that he would make them pay for what they had done. He would get his revenge. He would avenge Alara, the brave hunter who sacrificed herself. And he would avenge all the fallen hunters from the cleansing. The battle was over for tonight, but the war, he knew, had just truly begun. This was only the start. The night wind carried whispers of dark times ahead. It felt like the air itself was speaking of danger. Dean looked around at the ruined safe house, a place of safety now broken and sad. He knew deep in his soul that their fight was far from over. It was just getting started.
Shadows creep where the old truths sleep. City lights blur what secrets stir. From lagging streets to the city's heart, a row hunter's feet playing a dangerous part. 15 years since the cleansing scar. Now the veil's thin, not far, not far. Monsters crawl beyond the wall. He's hunting them down, gonna make them fall.